Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.
But Don Nealon's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread. As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football. Here is Harris in trouble. Stiff arms. The would-be tackler comes down over the 25 to 20. Goes around about it to 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
Takes the Slater one-on-one with the defender. Look at that.
West Virginia football. You know what that's about. They don't know what it's about. West Virginia football. Put all our tape on. Take the shoes up on time. Put a little more hair in the helmet.
Let them know. Leave no doubt tonight. Leave no doubt tonight. No doubt. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
And now, the show brought to you by Mountaineer fans, for Mountaineer fans, the Country Roads Webcast.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into Season 5, Episode 138 of the CRW Podcast, our Texas Preview and Predictions edition. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Cruz. Got my co-host with me, Steven.
What's going on, everybody?
And throwing the horns down, of course, we got Big Bubba Bradley. What's going on, man?
Texas Hate Week, baby.
Absolutely. The Mountaineers going to be facing off against the Longhorns on the road in Austin. 7:30 kick, another primetime spot for the Mountaineers. This time it'll be on Fox Sports 1 television-wise. So we're going to dive in on that matchup as we go throughout the episode. But before we do that, gentlemen, let's kick it off with a little off-topic babble. Off-topic of Mountaineer football-wise that you'd like to touch on. What do you got, Steven?
Not all. I've been kicked out of work, per se. Me and Hannah have caught the vid, so
Oh no,
we've had plenty of time for just lounging around for the past 2 days. So we've been able to clean up the house a bunch and get a bunch of things, squared away here that we haven't been able to do before. But been watching the Dahmer series, which I know a lot of people have been going back and forth about on social media. I happen to think that it's while it's very hard to watch for what it is, it's supposed to be hard to watch, in my opinion. I thought it was a very brilliant job by everyone that played a piece in terms of acting in that show. I really enjoyed it for what it was. That was my side of it. But trying to get into a little bit other shows here lately. I think Squid Games 2 is going to come out. Season 2 is going to come out soon, so I think I might go back and rewatch Season 1 of that. But other than that, not really much going on my way.
No, I feel bad. I haven't got a chance to watch Dahmer yet. I want to, so I can't say specifically about it yet. But from what I've heard about it, I do think that showcasing it the way that they are is the way that it probably should be done, is more so than like glorifying the people like a lot of these portrayals and biopics tend to do, is like glorify the serial killer and stuff. And so I think that that's a better way to go about it, more realistic and stuff. And it's hard, if it's hard to watch, then they're probably doing it right in my personal opinion. But I'm definitely going to check that out for sure. I watched that new Tyler Perry movie. They said he wrote it like 27 years ago. It's called Jazzman's Blues on Netflix. Really great movie. Bring your tissues. Sad one, but great movie with a great message. I like that one a lot. Me and the fiance watched that one. Other than that, not too much. I went back and started rewatching the 2012 game against Texas. That was a night game. That was West Virginia's first game against Texas in the Big 12, and it was on the road in Austin. Night game like this one's going to be, so I wanted to go back and watch that. I haven't got all the way through it yet, but I'm going to watch that, as well as probably the 2017 and maybe last year's too. Try and get all those in before the game. Other than that, upcoming, I'm sure I'll be talking about it on future episodes, but Hellraiser coming out on Hulu next week. Super excited about that. And then Halloween ends in like 2 weeks. Super excited about that as well. And then I think Hocus Pocus 2 comes out into this week, actually. So I'm going to check that out, too, on Disney Plus. So definitely, yeah, with the fall coming around, definitely, I'm a horror fan, so a lot of stuff up my alley coming around. I'm going to be tuned into off-topic wise, I guess. But Bradley, what about you, man?
Yeah, man. Movie-wise, I went and watched a movie last night. Me and the lady had a little date night out. We went and watched Don't Worry, Darling.
I've been wanting to see. How was that?
It was pretty good. It was really good. It was a good psychological thriller. Had a good twist to it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
The movie theater down here was super, super affordable. We got a whole large bucket of popcorn, a large drink. She got a hard cider and 2 boxes of candy. And you think that'd be like $60, but it was $30.
Yeah. Oh, that's not bad at all for a movie theater.
It was $7 for popcorn, and I was like, yeah, I'll take that all day. But it's okay because we made up for it because we also went to a little pub place. They call it the Puttery, and it's got a mini golf inside of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a lot of fun, except for it was $2 a hole per person.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's where, we made up some of that money difference there. It's $18 for 9 holes, but it was a lot of fun. It was super enjoyable. Really started to branch out, see some more of Charlotte. So, I hear that we've got a West Virginia bar down here somewhere that, all the West Virginia fans post up for the game days. So, I've been wanting to go to that. It's kind of hard to do that with having live shows immediately afterwards, but maybe I'll run a live show from the pub one day if the internet's good enough.
Yeah, there you go. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, so I think it's the alumni that owns the bar, and it's it's just where everybody goes for the WVU games.
You never know. You could be around some former players at some of those events. You get them on there and have their reaction during the show. Sometime.
Hey, they might sponsor it. I know we're not necessarily in that area, but
hey, if anybody's listening, we are on the market for a sponsor.
Yeah, feel free. Hit us up. countryroadswebcast@gmail.com or any of the social medias you see on the screen. If you're watching on the video side, any sponsorship, we're always up for that.
Absolutely.
That being said, gentlemen. Yeah. Anything else? I was going to say anything else off topic wise you guys want to touch on before we hit up some Mountaineer news?
Nope.
All
right.
If it's considered off topic, I'm ready for not in a negative sense towards football or anyway, but I'm also ready for Mountaineer basketball to start. I've been watching a lot of things on that here lately and getting really amped up about that. Not really sure what to expect out of them, but real excited nonetheless.
Yeah, I knew you would be. They got a lot of new pieces. We'll see how it turns out, but it's getting close. Yeah, first game, in October, about to be October here by the time West Virginia plays Texas. So coming right around, but I guess that'll wrap up off-topic babble segment. So let's dive in on some Mountaineer news. All right, Mountaineer news segment here. This is where we give you guys some Mountaineer basketball, some Mountaineer recruiting, and some Mountaineer football news. Going to dive in and just give you some updates on things that have happened since the last preview episode we recorded, which would have been Virginia Tech at this point. So here in our Texas preview and predictions edition, getting in on the Mountaineer news side of things. Let's kick it off, Stephen, with basketball. What's going on the basketball front for the Mountaineers?
The Mountaineers finally officially kicked off basketball practice yesterday. And so far, it looks like the Mountaineers are very offensively oriented from what you can tell from yesterday's practice, from what Huggins has said. Although I would be remiss if I didn't mention that's what he said pretty much each of the last couple of years, if not the last 5 years, is that the ball seems to be falling a lot more than the years past. So that's still to be determined if that's actually the case. Let's hope so. Other than that, the Bear celebrated his 69th birthday, goat year, if you will, 6 days ago. So about a week ago. I think that I don't know if I forgot to mention it on our last show, or we just haven't done one since. But yep, all I got right now for Mountaineer basketball. Hopefully things are starting to cook up now. So hopefully I got a lot more coming to you guys here soon, as well as the Country Roads Webcast Hoops Edition coming up here in the near future as well. So check that out. And that's all I got for now.
Yeah, I was going to say CRW Hoops Pod probably starting soon now. I seen that basketball practice was underway, a couple days, and I texted you and stuff like I didn't even realize. So it kind of snuck up on me. I didn't know if it did on you guys or not, but definitely gonna be more basketball news coming in the future now from Steven with that with practice kicking up and stuff, and then of course the CRW Hoops Pod he will be hosting as well. Look out for that coming in the near future, and really appreciate the basketball news and updates. And speaking of news and updates, definitely going to have some coming in on recruiting, I'm sure, Bradley, with signing day approaching here just a month or two away now. What do we got on the Mountaineer recruiting front?
Yeah, honestly, it's still been a little bit more quiet than what I thought it would have been. That's how it goes sometimes. I will say, a guy we kind of brought up a few times now, Jordan Louie, does seem to be entertaining other offers. I know we've talked about him a few times on here. He is committed at this point in time, but a lot of people are thinking that he might decommit here soon, really open it up. He's starting to get a lot more love from those SEC schools, being from North Carolina. It's not unheard of. I know he's going to, or went to UNC this weekend. I think he went to the Virginia Tech game on Thursday, followed it up with a game at UNC this weekend. I'm all for a young man getting his looks. He deserves all the attention he's getting. I'm all for that. I hope Neil Brown can keep him home. That being said, I think that we do have some potential there in the running back room, which, to be honest, we're kind of stacked in the running back room right now. You got Tony Mathis, who is, our veteran running back, as a redshirt sophomore, who is not even getting most of our touches behind true freshman T.J. Donaldson and technically freshman Justin Johnson. He's got an extra year, I think, in there. It's all weird. But, yeah, so, just want to look at Jordan Louie. He's gotten a lot of hype. He's been really dominant his senior year, so wouldn't be surprised if that one kind of flips here at the end. Some other ones to keep note of. These are kind of farther down the future here. But Tori Johnson Jr., who's the son of Tori Johnson Sr., is a tight end back in the day in the early 2000s. But his son was recently, they released their, I believe it was him. Actually, no, he was just showing some love on Twitter the other day. The one I want to talk about was Chris Henry Jr., which we all know. Chris Henry Sr., this is the kid that's been living with Pac-Man for quite a while, but they released the top 200 wide receiver rankings for the class of 2026. Granted, that is a few years down the road, admittedly, but, he is a bit of a legacy, definitely a recruit where we've got an inside leg on. He was actually named the number 1 wide receiver in all of the country. Really impressive, I was saying. So, at least by this list, that's wide receiver hits list, on Twitter, pretty accredited, but he's definitely up there considerably no matter where you're looking at. So pretty good kudos to that kid and just somebody to keep an eye on. But, recruiting right now, it's about where we stand. Not a lot of official visits outside of that. So. You're muted, Drew.
I've actually been waiting on you to touch on the Chris Henry Jr. If that is his name, right? He is.
Yeah.
I've been waiting on you to touch on him, man. I've been seeing a lot of highlights on him, especially of late. And shout out Pac-Man. I've been seeing a lot of him lately. He's got a lot of business endeavors going on, and I think that the role that he took on by adopting all of those kids is absolutely to be something to admired. I think he should be applauded for that in every way possible, because that's not something he had to do. It's something that he felt he needed to do that for the role that he played in Chris's life, because they were obviously best friends, and that goes back to WVU, which we all know as a brotherhood. But I just think that life comes full circle in that way, and I think that we would be disrespectful if we didn't mention Pac-Man when we mentioned Chris Henry Jr. if he does ends up coming to or going to anywhere in college, because
he's going to go anywhere he wants to go. We just got to hope that he wants to go to West Virginia University, live in the footsteps of his father.
Not mad if he decides not to. That's where I'll struggle.
I want to see him succeed. It's like how I feel about Jordan Louie. He's really shown a lot of love to WVU, and I appreciate that he's kept us in it. And at this point, it's up to us to show that we want him worse than anybody else does. We're going to put him in a better position. To be honest, I don't know how you look at 200 rushing yards through four games, 200 rushing yards every game through 4 games. If you defense. You got the sacks in the Pitt game and not let it run for our offense. But, hey, I'm not too worried about it. We still got Jaheim White who's looked really good. So I think we're ready to roll no matter the circumstances.
Yeah, it seems like we're going to be pretty well set and loaded at running back. And I definitely think Pac-Man deserves some kudos for what he's done already, but I'd love to give him some more if he stays in Chris Henry Jr.'s ear and gets him to end up as a Mountaineer when it's all said and done a few years down the road, because he's a super talented and going to be a super special player, I believe. But I guess it's my turn. Football news, Mountaineer football news, pretty much. Just going to give a bit of an injury update today from Neil Brown's press conference. He mentioned Charles Woods is out. Everyone else is good to at least dress, but he did a little bit later on in the press conference say Jordan White pretty much still questionable, kind of depends on how he practices this week. But good to hear that everyone else is healthy, save Charles Woods, but hopefully we'll get him back, next 2 to 3 or so weeks. But Jordan White, I think, would help the offensive line. They said he dressed the past couple games, but just didn't want to push it too much if they didn't have to, so he didn't play. But might see him against Texas, and that could give the offensive line, which has been playing really well, even more of a boost than they've had up to this point, since that first game when he went down against Pitt, and the offensive line looked really good before he did, with him playing right guard and Nestor at right tackle. But other than that, just around the Big 12 here for week 5, some of the matchups, and we got a couple good ones for sure here. Number 18, Oklahoma, going on the road to TCU. That'll be at noon. Then also at noon, the two teams that pulled off big wins last week, Texas Tech going on the road to now number 25, Kansas State, also at noon. And then my favorite matchup of the week, probably in the conference, rematch of last year's conference title game, and probably the top two teams battling for that crown right now of top team in the conference. And that's number 9, Oklahoma State, going on the road to number 16, Baylor at 3:30. Then you also get Iowa State going on the road to Kansas, who tries to remain undefeated and move to 5-0 on the year at 3:30. And then the nightcap for the conference, of course, is the Mountaineers going on the road to the Texas Longhorns. Going to be kicked off at 7:30. Like I said, televised on Fox Sports 1. Texas currently favored by 10 at the time of this recording. That being said, gentlemen, any thoughts on the football news, the recruiting news, or the basketball news we've shared before we dive in a little further on our preview of the matchup against Texas?
Yeah, if I'm not crazy, I think Kansas goes and plays Iowa State, or Iowa State's coming to play Kansas. I don't remember which one
Iowa
you said.
State going to Kansas, yeah.
Yeah, following that up, I think against Texas Tech. Is that who they're playing after that? I'm pretty sure.
I think it's Texas Tech or TCU, maybe. Can't
Yeah,
remember.
either way, we're looking at
Something
a
like that.
potentially 6-0 Kansas team.
They've got a chance, yeah. They've got a chance.
That is insane. I
Hey,
mean, it's going to have every argument to be ranked, honestly.
Hey, a few weeks ago, Bradley asked me, what does Kansas have to get to for it to be, for it not to be so bad on West Virginia's part? And I said 8 wins. That's not impossible right now for the Kansas Jayhawks. And they
right
look
now,
good. It's
definitely
very
like
attainable.
that.
It's probable right now.
Have you guys seen
It's
the
very-
Heisman odds? Jalen Daniels is like 3rd in the Heisman race right now.
I think if the Jayhawks get 10 wins, then he deserves to be a Heisman finalist, in my opinion.
I think if they get 9 wins or 8 wins, I mean, you can't argue for a more valuable person on a team than Jalen Daniels
Well,
has been for the Kansas.
His quarterback
Jayhawks.
rating is stupid. I think right now it would set like an NCAA record or something. I heard on someone said on a podcast. So yeah, they've really found a gem in Jalen Daniels, and that's all it takes at times, So definitely,
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch that. I'm excited for a lot of that Big 12 slate this week. So we'll see how that plays out, and talk about that more after Saturday, possibly on our post game show. Touch on a little bit of the Big 12, but definitely we'll give our thoughts as the season moves along. But speaking of the season moving along, the West Virginia Mountaineers season moving right along as well. Hard to believe it's Game 5 already, but here we are, gentlemen, and going to be in prime time again against the Longhorns, going on the road to a place we've had success at against Texas. But let's dive in on that preview of that game. Kick it off right here, gentlemen. Just open, kind of broader thoughts. Then we'll dive in on the matchups, on each side of the ball. But just kind of broader thoughts about this game, and I guess about the series with Texas as a whole, really, because very likely that this could be not only it'll probably definitely be the last time West Virginia plays them in Austin. Could be the last time they play them all together as a conference foe. So just kind of what are your thoughts on the series? I know West Virginia leads it. To me, for my opening thought, I think this one's kind of important just because the fact West Virginia does lead the series against Texas. If Texas wins this one, it would be even. So if West Virginia wins this game, I think at most you play Texas one more time. So if West Virginia wins this game, it would secure a winning record against the Texas Longhorns during our tenure in the Big 12. And that's pretty cool to say. No matter what, we're going to probably have a winning record in Austin because we're 4-2 there, but still would like to get another one, make it 5 wins. But that being said, gentlemen, opening thoughts about this matchup against Texas and, our series against the Longhorns since we've joined the Big 12 Conference. What do you think, Stephen?
Well, I usually get excited for this one in general, just in terms of the conference matchups, because I think that I was talking about Kansas. I think that Texas, is probably, you could argue, West Virginia's only rival that I guess that we've developed throughout playing in the Big 12 Conference. Only true rival that you could argue. West Virginia fans, I think, would argue that Oklahoma would be a rival, but in my opinion, you have to win games for that to happen. And that's exactly what has been the case with Texas and West Virginia. West Virginia's won games that they shouldn't have, and likewise with Texas. And no matter where it's played, it's always a very good atmosphere, whether that be in Morgantown or be in Austin. And I think that's what really brings this game to life usually. I think that when West Virginia joined the conference, I think we was really at a loss on whether these games, I think we knew they would be exciting, but, going throughout the years, you play a ranked Kansas team, you're getting amped up for it. You play a down Kansas team, you're not really getting that amped up. So through going out the years, you're trying to find teams in this conference that you can stay amped up throughout the season and get up for games for in the fan base and in the locker room. And I think that this is definitely one of the games that has always been most exciting. Now, getting into the meat of what these two teams this year actually are going to be, I think that it's going to be a pretty close game. I really do. I think that in a lot of ways, Texas has looked very similar to what West Virginia has this year. They've been very spotty on defense, and they've been very, very good on offense. Now, they haven't looked the same style of offensive play that West Virginia has. They've obviously got Bijan and Johnson. They've got 2 Robinsons and a Johnson. I know that. But they run a multitude of styles at you, and they can beat you over top, and they have a big playability on the offensive side of the ball. So, to be honest, I really don't know what to expect this weekend. Those are my opening thoughts because of just the general question marks that lie on all facets of the game for both teams.
Yeah, you're still muted, Jordan.
Muted again, buddy.
You're struggling.
Well,
You're supposed to hear what you're saying.
I know. What I'm saying is nothing interesting, so I'll just mute it, and no one wants to hear it, so I'll just skip through that part and get to you guys. But no, anyway, I was saying that I agree. I think this one's a tough one to call as far as the matchup. You can look at it positively, you can look at it negatively. I don't know. It's a tough one to call for real with the way these teams match up together this season, it appears. But overall, like you said, I've really enjoyed this series, and one of the few, I guess you can say that about in the Big 12 Conference, because most of them are just but this is the one that I've looked forward to a lot, and there's been some really good matchups. Like I mentioned earlier, 2012, 2017, both come to mind for sure for me. But Bradley, what about you? Opening thoughts about Texas and West Virginia?
Yeah, and I think that I think what gets people up for this game, and I think I've said it before, but I see West Virginia as the anti-Texas. I really do. Because, Texas is, marquee, iconic, definite blue blood, has all the resources in the world, can have any recruit they want. They can throw $48 million in a one weekend expense trip for or however much money it was for Arch Manning. They can, get all these stars. They can have all the professional coaches they want. And, West Virginia doesn't have any of that. We never have. We probably never will. We can get some kids, but we get kids that want to work for it, that want to work hard, that want to be here. And so, and we win with that because it is a winning formula. You can win with that. You can definitely win with what Texas has too. And so I think that it's just that battle, that mentality battle of, hard work versus talent. And, it's really just, can we work hard enough to beat Texas? And I think that, that's why we have had a chance to beat Texas is because, or that's what's made this one more interesting than what we would like Oklahoma to be is like Steven said, we've won games against Texas. We've won those games. And I think that that's why fans get more amped up for this one than they do, say, Oklahoma. And so, I think that it's going to be a very interesting game, to say the least. I think it's going to be funky. But, man, I would love to walk out of here with, heads held high over Texas before they scamper off to the SEC to become even more relevant.
Definitely. It's I think they're going to have a tough go in the SEC. I'd agree with you there for sure. But as far as this incarnation of the matchup specifically, we'll dive in a little bit now on each side of the ball. Let's kick it off first because I think when you're talking Texas, although their defense is very improved this year, and we can get to that in a minute, I think you got to lead with the offense just because the firepower that they have there and the great skill players they have across the board. They're absolutely loaded with talent. Quinn Ewers, we don't know if we're going to see him or not, of course, but that's a different beast altogether. I'm pretty much expecting West Virginia to see Hudson Card. Could be surprised and see Ewers, but if so, it's not going to be a fully healthy Ewers. I don't think Texas would want to do that. So I'm expecting to see Hudson Card at quarterback, but then at running back, like Steven mentioned, Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson, Keelan Robinson, all three can really hurt you. Keelan Robinson also be a weapon for them on kick returns. Roshan Johnson's a converted quarterback. They can line up in the Wildcat, and they can have both Bijan Robinson and Keelan Robinson back there with them, have all three of those guys. Their offense uses, a lot of motions and stuff similar to kind of what Kansas did. Hudson Card, that's the quarterback, like I said, Mountaineers are most likely to face. He can run a little bit as well. And then on the outside, Xavier Worthy, one of the better receivers in the conference if he's healthy. I know he left in the game versus Texas Tech. I'm unsure of his status. He never returned in that game. So don't know if we'll see him or not either. But then they also have other weapons there, specifically Whittington's their highest rated receiver on PFF. So what are your guys' thoughts on how the Mountaineers match up with all that firepower on Texas? Or do you think it's much ado about nothing and the Mountaineers are going to hold their own against the Longhorns? What do you think, Steven?
I generally think that, if West Virginia's done anything well on defense, it's contained the run. Now, they haven't contained the outside very well, and that was very evident in the Kansas game. But I think last week especially, West Virginia did a very good job, and albeit against a very poor, poorly talented Virginia Tech team on offense this year. They contained the run very well. This weekend, I'm not so sure that's the case. What I think West Virginia is going to have trouble with is while he's not the most mobile quarterback, Hudson Card can still move his legs. He can still move the ball with his legs downfield, and I think that's really going to be the ultimate, the ultimate downfall maybe of what if West Virginia is to lose this weekend. I think that's why. I don't know if you see Quinn Ewers. I think it's too early. I think they kind of want to rehab him to where he's back fully healthy, like you said. And also, really, I guess what most concerns me is while Bijan is dangerous from the backfield, they like to swing him out of the backfield a lot and make him a receiver. And they do that with him and Roshan Johnson. And so the versatility of the Texas offense is very hard to navigate if you're a West Virginia defense trying to scheme against them this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially what you look at with how much trouble we have with Kansas,
Well said. Kansas had a lot of weapons, and Texas has those same weapons plus even more, and they're more highly regarded, So, but what about you, Bradley? What are your thoughts on the Mountaineer defense and how they match up with this Texas offense and what they can do to try and slow some of those weapons down?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not. I don't have a very good very good view of how this is going to go down for our defense. I said it before. I don't think that, I think that we played better against Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech's offense was really bad. I think they had like one decent player. They were able to kind of like throw the ball in our zone a little bit. Texas is way better than that. I'm glad we're getting Hudson Card because I think that it's it's tough for me to say that because I really, really do not like us going into a quarterback that can run because we just have never shown the ability to stop that. But even worse than that, I think our DBs are just not there yet. And I think that Quinn Ewers, from what I saw against Alabama, would just pick us apart. I think that we've had no chance against Quinn Ewers, so I think that we've got a better chance against Hudson Card. And the fact that we might be able to get some pressure against him. But I don't think that we're able to stop Texas's offense. And, we'll bounce over to it a little bit when we get over to offense. But I think that this is going to be – it's going to sound weird, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a low-scoring shootout. I know that sounds funky. I don't think there's going to be a lot of defensive stops. I think that Texas is going to score quick and fast. I think they're going to be big explosive plays. I just don't see us being able to stop them. I think that they're going to be able to throw the ball on us, and that's going to open up their three-headed monsters of running backs. And as good as we have been at stopping the run, I just don't think we're there yet, guys. I really don't, and I hate saying that, but I just feel like, we're still so young in that linebacking core that Luka Pogba has looked better. I don't think that we have the talent up there to, we got really frustrated, when we were getting beat against Kansas and Pitt, especially against Kansas, defensive linemen throwing their hands up at the backfield. And, when they feel like they're not getting any support from behind, the front line just kind of gave up. And, I'm worried about that same thing happening against Texas. I hope it doesn't happen. It'd be very disheartening to see it happen. But I just don't see our defense really being able to stop Texas's offense.
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned about it myself as well. I think this is a game where you're going to learn a lot about the West Virginia defense. We've seen them bounce back the past two games with, better performances, but the competition there remains to be seen how good those teams are. I don't think either one is necessarily going to be considered a good team at season's end, especially offensively. So with how bad West Virginia struggled against Kansas and how similarly Texas is going to try and attack you, especially in the run game wise with multiple motions, multiple formations, multiple running backs, a quarterback that can run as well, we're going to really see how much West Virginia has improved since that Kansas game. Specifically, like you mentioned, on the second level with the linebackers and in the back end, a lot of those guys were missing those run fits and misfitting those run plays against Kansas, and that's what a lot of the frustration, I think, came from. So we're going to see if they're able to communicate better and able to understand what gaps they're responsible for better here a couple games later, than they were against Kansas early in the season when they were a little bit younger, I guess you can say, playing time-wise. So now Game 5, we're going to really learn a lot about, I think, how much this defense has improved and what we can expect from them for the rest of the season moving forward, going up against this high-powered Texas offense. And being as worried about it as you guys were, I kind of tried to look for some silver linings. And so to me, I think here they are. The silver linings, I think, are you're probably not going to have to face Quinn Ewers. If you do, it's not going to be 100% healthy Quinn Ewers. The other, Xavier Worthy's status, if you may not have to have him on the outside, that's one weapon removed for Texas, or he may not be 100% healthy as well. And then looking through PFF, the one thing that stuck out is that they want to run the ball. They have a lot of running backs. Steve Sarkisian likes to do that as well. But their run blocking grades as far as their offensive line on PFF are really low, actually. Right there comparable with like Virginia Tech, how their run blocking grades were. And going into the game, why I thought West Virginia would be able to stop their run, and was a little bit. But the X factor there still yet is Bijan Robinson. Even if the run blocking is struggling and some defenders get through, he can make, the first guy or two miss and still make big plays happen. So that's really what this is about to me when you're talking about this Texas offense, containing Bijan Robinson. And he's going to get his, but you got to limit it as much as you can, and limit explosive plays, I think, should be the big key for West Virginia in this one.
Yeah, and you want to talk about our defensive struggle with tackling. This is not the team you want to be going into, the set of backs that you want to be going into struggling to tackle. Because, Bijan Robinson's a grown-ass man. And, it's not some guy that you can just take lightly because then he's going to run over you.
So same with Roshan Johnson. I know he's killed us the past couple of years, so he's a beast himself as well.
Yeah, they have a multitude of facets, like I said, on offense that they can go to. Whether that be on the outside with Xavier Worthy or with that three-headed monster in the backfield. Bijan obviously is the most talked about one of all of them, but let's not forget he's the one that cost them the game last week against Texas Tech. He fumbled the ball in overtime and let them take over and get that field goal. So
very true.
While he is a very talented back, he is human and he tends to make mistakes sometimes. So
yeah, well, just to play devil's advocate, he could also be just angry now because of that, and we could be getting angry on Robinson as well. So it kind of worries me. But I do think maybe a hidden advantage for West Virginia is the fact that they had 9 days to prepare for this game versus only 6 for Texas, and the Mountaineers won comfortably and coasted through the fourth quarter of their game, whereas Texas played extra in an overtime game and has 6 days to prepare. So I don't know how much of a factor that plays, but definitely worth mentioning, I feel like. But the Mountaineer defense, not with an impossible challenge, but definitely going to have their hands full on Saturday night against the Longhorn offense with a lot of weapons, and we'll see how that plays out. But flip it over on the other side where I think it's a little bit of a better matchup for the Mountaineers. But that being said, I think this is a much improved Texas defense. We've seen, the past couple of years, the defense be the reason that Texas has kind of struggled at times and lost a lot of their games as they couldn't stop anybody. And that's not been the case this year. They've put forth some really good efforts. Their defensive front is very strong, led by Coburn, a monster defensive tackle coming in at about 343. I think they go 300 plus across the D-line. I know I heard Neil Brown say today they're 6 deep just at defensive tackle alone, not the entire defensive line. That's just one position. They're 6 deep at. So, a wealth of riches as always, talent-wise for Texas, and that's no different this year. And I think the defense, not only have they schemed things better this year, but they're some of those guys they took lumps with when they were younger are really experienced juniors and seniors now, and that's helped on this Texas defense. But they're facing a Mountaineer offense that's much improved as well and has really been, I think, one of the better performers in the country nationally when you look around, especially around the conference. And they've been consistent, and the thing that's really stuck out, I think, as we mentioned previously, is the balance. They've been able to run the football and pass the football. But what do you think they'll be able to do against this Texas defense, Stephen? Do you think they'll be able to still achieve that balance and have a good performance? Or what are your thoughts about how this matchup shakes out between the Mountaineer offense and the Longhorn defense?
Yeah, like a lot like I said earlier, I think they're very similar to West Virginia in the fact that, they're a very strong defensive front. And while I would agree that they would probably have a better defensive front than West Virginia, I hate to say, but on the back end is what concerns me about their defense. I think West Virginia will have a very good day if we're able to catch the football. I think that JT Daniels will be able to get it out there to those guys and put it in the right spots. But whether they're able to come down with those footballs is the question in my mind. I think that they'll be available. They'll have opportunities with the way that this secondary for Texas has been, especially last week, because the whole time in that Texas Tech game, there was one play in the first half that I know that Texas gave him a free play because he jumped off sides. And then, of course, Texas Tech goes for a deep shot. And then there's a pass interference penalty also called on the Texas defense because and it was thrown into heavy coverage. And then you fast forward into the second half, another free play by the Texas defense jumping off sides. And then they let the guy come down with the ball. And that's also into heavy coverage. So I think the discipline and the ability, their inability to contain the big play, I guess I should say, on the back end will be something West Virginia needs to look forward and definitely exploit on Saturday. I get confused between Thursday and Saturday games this year.
I know we've got so many Thursday ones this year. It's kind of hard to keep up, especially when you're coming off a Thursday one, and we were saying everything Thursday, for 2 out of the past 4 games. So, but Saturday night, so
going back to Thursday after this game, or after the bye
week. Then we're right back to Thursday again. You're right. So, but Saturday night, definitely, I think it's going to be a nice matchup. It's the one I'm going to be looking to see the Mountaineer offense against this Texas defense because I think, as I said, it's going to show us a lot about the defense. I think in turn, we're going to see how good this Mountaineer offense can be, because this is a Texas defense that held their own against Alabama and some other teams. We saw last week Texas Tech, their way of attacking Texas was to get off as many plays as possible, over 100 plays. Texas Tech ripped off on Texas. Neil Brown was kind of asked if they were going to do that same strategy. He didn't say that, but he said keeping the Texas offense off the field is a good plan. So hopefully more tempo from West Virginia this week, but also you can keep that offense off the field by slowing the game down and possessing the ball a little bit more. So who knows which way that they'll lean to, but I'm hoping a little more up tempo, because I've liked that when the Mountaineer offense has done that this season. I thought they've had great success and maybe even functioned a little bit better in those 2-minute drill and 1-minute drive situations they've had to execute end of half and end of game at times. But Bradley, what are your thoughts about this Texas defense and how they match up with the West Virginia offense?
Yeah, I'll go right into it with what you were just ending with there. Is I think that we're going to play slow and methodical. I think that that's been Neil Brown's kind of brand of football. I think that Graham Harrell has kind of fallen into that a little bit. I think that it's worked out for him. Huge time of possession differences. We seem to win games when we have the ball more. And I think that, whereas I believe Texas's offense is going to be scoring under 3 minutes almost every time, I think that we are going to be trying to take up about 7 minutes on every drive if we can. And I think that that's going to be successful. I don't think they're going to be able to stop us whatsoever. I think that, our offense is really exciting. And I think that they are only getting better day after day. I think that, we've continued to see progress through them, consistent progress through our offense, which is what you want to see. And so I think that, out of all the games so far, I think that this is probably one of the ones that JT Daniels has had circled, even more so than the backyard brawl. I mean, maybe with Keaton Slovis in the backyard brawl, but I think that, Texas is definitely one JT Daniels has had circled for a while. A lot of eyes on this game, prime time, DKR, really a chance for you to step up and have your Will Greer moment, kind of, And so, something that if he's wanting to make it to the NFL, this really gives him a chance to kind of show that some. I think that our offense is going to look good. I think that we're going to see probably the best offensive performance that we've seen all year. But I think that it's going to be slow and methodical. I think it's going to be quick passes to the outside, followed by trying to run it, outside zone, trying to work some outside zone that Jordan's talked about, trying to wear them down and then hit it up the middle, wear them down, hit them up the middle, kind of what we did with Pitt. And, it worked. We scored against Pitt. Very similar defense, a very similar scheme, I'm guessing. It's going to work. And so, I think that's where I'm talking about. It's going to be a shootout. By that, I mean it's going to be very little defense this can do to stop this. I think it's going to be, touchdowns on every possession almost. But I think that, just the balance between Texas scoring quickly and West Virginia scoring slowly is just going to kind of drive the points down. But I think that, our offense is going to have us in this game no matter how our defense plays.
Yeah, and it's going to take a good performance from the offense, I think, for the Mountaineers in this one. And specifically, I think we're going to have to try and get touchdowns. I think that's the one thing. If you look at the Virginia Tech game, you can maybe criticize a little bit. I mean, hats off to Casey Legg for knocking through the field goals and being perfect on the year so far and having 4 in that game to outscore Virginia Tech himself, 12-10. But the Mountaineers are going to need touchdowns in those situations in this game against Texas, where points are going to be at a premium for sure, I think. And West Virginia has shown they've been able to open holes and be able to move guys off the ball, even against good defensive lines. I know Pitt has a really good defensive line, and Virginia Tech in its own right arguably does as well. But this is a different animal to me because it's a 4-down front for one, but also just the style of defensive linemen that you're facing is a lot different. Pitt, Virginia Tech, both, those defensive line, more of the hybrid pass rushing defensive tackle type bodies. They went, 280, 290. Whereas Texas, as I said, over 300 across the board. So different type of test for this West Virginia offense. And we're going to see here in this game, I think, something that Neil Brown's preached about all offseason is, having success, being able to run the football against top teams in the league and teams that have the top run defenses in the league. And we're going to find out if West Virginia can do that. They've had great success running the ball through 4 games. And this, I think, is the first real test that we'll see that will show us if they'll be able to do that going forward in the Big 12 Conference.
Yeah, which I think is something that we can kind of put the screws to Neil Brown over, is because He has no reason. He has said that a lot. We should be able to run against the best run defense teams. We can't run against good teams. You've got a veteran offensive line that has looked good. You've got a running back that has put up over 100 yards every game almost. You've put up over almost 200 rushing yards every game. By all rights, you should be able to do it this game. It's something you said you focused on and something you said you've worked on. If you can't do it, that's an issue.
Absolutely. I'd agree. It's a big game all around for the Mountaineers. And, Neil Brown, yet again, another huge game for him here going on the road, just because I think the simple fact of both, Texas, of course, as we mentioned, lost to Texas Tech last week. They're 0-1 in conference. Both teams 2-2. Both teams 0-1 in conference. As we know, the Mountaineers lost to Kansas. So whoever loses this game really puts themselves in a bad spot, 0-2 in conference. Probably can't recover. I'm sure both these teams have aspirations of competing for a Big 12 title and ultimately, more or less, barring any thing crazy, which could happen in the season because the Big 12 is wide open. But whoever loses this game almost puts themselves out of contention for being able to do that and compete for that conference title. So big for that reason as well. And I think for the Mountaineer offense, a huge barometer of where they are and what they can do for the remainder of the season. But it's a little bit on the matchups on both sides of the ball. That being said, before we get into key to victory and predictions, any final thoughts on these matchups, gentlemen, Stephen or Bradley?
Nope. I'm not too optimistic about it, I will say. I'm excited for the actual matchup, but, going into it, I just hope that they prove me wrong. I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. A win here is massive. Just for you want to talk about a morale boost. Beating Virginia Tech's one thing, but going into Texas and beating Texas is something that can really pole vault this team into the next level. Especially going into the bye week, prepping for Baylor. A win in Texas is going to be massive. And I don't consider this a must-win for Neil Brown. I don't think against Baylor is either. I think that he's bought himself a little bit of leeway with Virginia Tech. So I don't see this as much of a. I would love to win this game. It would show a lot to me, but. I don't see it as a must win.
Well, I will say that
it's a must win, but I was just going to say with the extra prep time, you can't come out and look unprepared and look like you have to come out and look like you're ready to play, I think. But go ahead, Stephen. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to say I do think that West Virginia is going to definitely win one, maybe two games, maybe a few games that they're not supposed to win this year, quote unquote. As the saying goes. But I don't know if it's this game. I think that, down the line somewhere, West Virginia is going to find some catch lightning in a bottle for one of these games. I don't know if it's this game or not. I don't see it. Where we're coming off of a win, like Virginia Tech, I don't think that, the lock. Like I said, I could be wrong, but I just don't think that they're that fired up for this game to be able to pull off that massive upset. Not that it would be that massive.
I don't know. I don't think that's the issue. I think that, beating Virginia Tech's important, but I think that's made them more hungry for that big win. Because Virginia Tech's not Texas. And so I think that it's gotten them hungry. So I think that they're going to be more fired up for this game than they probably were Virginia Tech.
I hope so.
Just how I see it.
I think that in my mind, I'm just like trying to downplay it a little bit so that hopefully it comes out,
That being said, we're going to get into our key to victory and our score predictions. But before we do, if you're watching on the video side, whether you're watching on our YouTube or the WV Sports Now YouTube, which you can now find us on the WV Sports Now website and their YouTube channel, as well as we are the official fan-led podcast there on the WV Sports Now podcast network. But if you're watching on their YouTube or our YouTube, either one, do us a favor, hit that like button, give us that thumbs up. That'll help this video's performance and help our future videos performances as well. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Helps us, helps you. Helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. But if you're not interested in the video side and you're more of an audio person, you can find us on any podcast platform you like. And if you're listening to us there on Apple Podcasts, do us a favor, leave us a rating. That helps as well. That being said, let's dive in on our keys to victory and our score predictions for the game against Texas. All right, so key to victory and score prediction, pretty self-explanatory. We're going to give our key to a Mountaineer win in this one, and then give our prediction as to who will win and what the score will be in the game on Saturday night. That being said, Steven, what do you got as the key to victory, and who do you got winning this one Saturday night in Austin?
Well, my key to victory is a little bit lame this week. It's a little bit, pretty much a broken record of what I've been saying this whole episode, but it's pretty much the back end of the defense. The secondary play, and this is going to be key for West Virginia, and how well they can stop the big plays from Texas's offense. Not that the defensive line is going to have to hold their own, because they are, but the defensive secondary for West Virginia has just been the biggest question mark all season long, and it's going to continue to be so until they prove it. Anybody that they're not, so vulnerable to that. So that is my key to victory. Not so confident in the fact that West Virginia can take care of business on that side of the ball. So unfortunately, I got West Virginia losing this week, 42-35.
I feel it. That's the big concern, I think, in this one is the Mountaineer defense with all the weapons Texas has, and the struggles we've seen Mountaineers have in the secondary throughout the season, pretty much, and then in the run game against Kansas, I think leads to some concerns as well. So I'll follow you up, Stephen. My key to victory, I think, is prove people wrong. I think that goes for Neil Brown. I think that goes for the team, because looking at it, I think not a lot of people think the Mountaineers are going to win this one. So maybe that could be a motivator to prove people wrong, and prove people wrong that think that you're not going to be able to run the ball against this Texas defense. Prove people wrong that your secondary is not very good. Prove people wrong that you can't stop the Texas run game, can't stop Bijan Robinson. And then I think for Neil Brown, looking at this game, Neil Brown has never won 3 games in a row since he became the West Virginia head coach, and we've got 2 wins in a row right now. So people probably automatically count the Mountaineers out just for the fact that he's never won 3 in a row. So for Neil Brown, you can prove people wrong as well. Get your 3 wins in a row, go down and get a win in prime time at Texas, and give some hope back to the fan base, I think. So that's the key to victory for me is, I guess, motivation to prove people wrong. But score prediction-wise, they're going to have to prove me wrong as well, because I'm unfortunately in the same boat as you, Stephen. But I think it'll be closer. I think, right now as we're recording, the spread is 10, but I think it'll be closer than that. I think the Mountaineers will come up just shy. I got it by a field goal. Texas 34, West Virginia 31. Bradley, we both got losses, unfortunately, for the Mountaineers. Hopefully you can close us out with some optimism, but either way, we want to hear it. What's your key to victory and what's your score prediction?
Well, let me crush that a little bit. We can't stop Bijan Robinson. We can't stop their offense. Our defensive backs are bad. I don't expect our defense to look great. That being said, I think our offense is amazing. I think that they're going to have, again, like I said, the best game of their year. I think they're going to really look on point. As my key to victory, if Neil Brown wants to win this game, he has to win it by not doing what's cost him the first 2 games of the year, and which cost him plenty of games in his career so far, and that's by cleaning up your mistakes. I think the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is probably going to win this game. Texas has shown that they make some mistakes as well. If you can come out here and you can clean up those, you play some clean, sound football, you make limited mistakes, you really just play on top of your game, you're going to come out there with a chance to win it and win it good, honestly. But you make the same dumb mistakes, you flinch on 4th and 1, you throw a pick 6 at the wrong time, you're not gonna win down there. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap this up. People aren't gonna be big fans of us this week, but I also got us losing. I do think it's gonna be close. You and I have very close scores, Jordan. I think that it's gonna be 35-31. I think that West Virginia is gonna have a chance to win it. Coming down to drive, they need a touchdown, and they don't seal it up. So I got us 35-31. Offense is going to have a good game, but I just think, I think that our defense lacks a little bit more than Texas's does, and we just can't make up that difference.
Yep, sounds like we're thinking very similarly, not only me and you score-wise, but all 3 of us in how this one may turn out for the Mountaineers. So hopefully for the team and for Mountaineer Nation, hopefully us 3 are wrong, and we'll gladly be wrong on this one in the future, but that's the way we see it right now with our key to victory and score predictions. That being said, gentlemen, one last thing left for us to do here on season 5, episode 138, and it's the return of Mountaineer multiple choice. You guys ready for a couple rounds?
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm the back-to-back winner. Of course I'm ready.
Back-to-back winner by default.
Hey,
Self-proclaimed.
man, you didn't have to include that. We're just talking. We're just talking here.
Sorry. All right, so let's get into it. The return of Mountaineer multiple choice. All right, so Mountaineer multiple choice. If you haven't ever been a part of our game show that we like to close out our preview podcast with here, our final segment, Mountaineer multiple choice. I have the Mountaineer multiple choice trivia 10 here, loaded with some West Virginia related trivia questions. Had previously been only WV football related, but this past week or so, I reloaded it with some other questions, state trivia related, some other things, but still West Virginia related. So we'll see what happens. Maybe some of these new questions will pop up, but let's kick it off. Steven, I guess we'll let you go first, since, I mean, you did get those 2 wins, right? So
That's right. I mean, it's only right.
I'll let you get the first question here.
You did give Bradley the
Oh, no,
choice.
week 5.
I think.
Well, but you
I think there's some habnashery going on right now. I don't like that we're actually going along with the fact that Stevens won 2 by default.
I'm just trying to play into the.
I don't make
narrative.
the rules,
It
man.
builds the suspense. It builds the
Apparently
drama.
you
of
do.
the show.
Apparently Steven does.
No. I just suggest rules, and then they happen to just be accepted.
I mean,
I feel some favoritism going on here.
there are no rules. It's like college football now.
Yeah,
Hey, I love it.
All right, here we go. Steven. Believe it or not, the Mountaineer mascot hasn't always worn the trademark buckskin costume. In what year was the buckskin costume introduced? A, 1967, B, 1980, C, 1920, or D, 1937?
Oh man, I want to say that I've seen pictures before the 80s with it. So was 63, was that one of the options?
A is 1967, C is 1920, and D is 1937.
Okay, 1967 I think is going to be my pick.
It's going with 1967. That is actually incorrect.
Oh,
So
okay.
Bradley, with an opportunity to steal, the 3 options left are B, 1980, C, 1920, or D, 1937. In what year was the West Virginia Mountaineer mascot's buckskin costume introduced?
I feel like 1920 is awfully early. I feel like we have the throwback mascot that people have brought up, and it's the moonshiner sitting on some moonshine with a musket. So I'm feeling that that's probably pre-prohibition, around prohibition area. So I'm going D, 1937.
1937 is correct. Bradley begins
Good.
with the steal.
You deserve that answer, Brad. That's a great answer.
That was well
Great
thought out.
educated
Very-
answer
That was
also.
very good. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Great thought process.
Great
There.
analysis.
Deserves
there,
that
bud.
one. So 5 points for Bradley. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned. Correct answer is worth 3 points. If you don't get it right, the other person chance to steal, and that's worth 5 points. So Bradley with the 5-0 lead early, and it's his question now. So Bradley, Charleston is the current capital city of West Virginia, but it hasn't always been. What city was the original capital city of West Virginia? Is it A, Morgantown, B, Lewisburg, C, Wheeling, or D, Huntington?
That is C, Wheeling.
C, Wheeling is correct, Bradley, with another 3 points there. Nice. All right, Steven, we're back to you, man. See what we got here.
Give me one.
Who leads Mountaineers in passing on?
Just throw one out.
What is the name of the West Virginia quarterback in 2022?
This former Mountaineer was the first ever defensive player to be named Super Bowl MVP when he won the award in Super Bowl V. Who was it? A, Sam Huff, B, Ira Rodgers, C, Chuck Howley, or D, Bruce Bosley?
Sam Huff.
Sam Huff, incorrect.
What?
Bradley with the chance to steal. First ever defensive player to be named Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl V, and he was a former Mountaineer. Options remaining: B. Ira Rogers, C. Chuck Howley, D. Bruce Bosley.
God, I have no idea. I'm
I
gonna
know
go
the
with.
answer. I just forgot. I thought it was a different question.
I'm gonna go. I think it's either B or C. I'm gonna go off on a limb. My heart wants to say B, but I'm gonna say C. I'm gonna say Chuck Howley.
He's going with C. Chuck Howley, and that's a great guess because that's also correct with the steal.
I figured it was going to be and you probably have
Bradley's
another
running.
question.
Bradley is really upset about those default wins, Steven. He's like,
Yeah,
he's not
I'm
getting
coming
any
back
wrong.
with a vengeance.
All right, Bradley.
Your best bet to win is when I'm not playing, Steven.
Yeah.
What is the oldest river in West Virginia? Is it A, the Elk River, B, the Ohio River, C, the Monongalia River, or D, the New River?
I don't know. Probably the New River.
It's me though, right? It's not. It's not. That's my question.
Oh,
Is it?
my bad.
Oh, I don't know. I was
You
confused.
didn't
as well.
I stole that one
We'll-
from Steven.
hold on,
I stole that one
we'll-
from Steven.
I'll ask you a different one if it's your
I'll tell you
question.
what. I don't think it's the New River. I think it's the Ohio. So if it's not right, then Steven has points.
Okay, how about this? One of those two answers is right. Do you want to give 3 points to whoever's right? Because one of those two answers you guys just said is right.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be one of them too. I think
Okay.
it's Ohio.
It's the New River.
I just went with that answer
Actually,
surely because
It's
the
oxymoron.
question. What's
It's
the
surprisingly
oldest?
actually one of the oldest rivers in the world, I think. I think
I
it
know
was
the
like
Indians called it
years
the River
before
of Death.
the mountains. Okay, so 3 points to Steven.
think I'm at
Gaining a little
13,
traction. Gaining a little traction. Bradley, you've got 13. So we'll give last round here. Bradley, you can go first, and then we'll kick it back to Steven for one more. Maybe Steven gets a steal and a question right and gets back in it. We'll see.
Got it.
That would still only put him at
That would still be a little short.
It's only
But
gonna put him at 11.
we'll do
It's
one more
okay.
round for the fun of it. In what year was the WVU fight song "Hail West Virginia" composed? A. 1867, B. 1891, C. 1938, D. 1915.
Yeesh, them some old times. I think that this is old. Actually, I think it's from the 1800s. So I'm gonna go with the later one of those. I think it was 1891.
Yep, 1891B. Incorrect, actually. So, Steven, chance to steal. In what year was the WVU fight song "Hail West Virginia" composed? A. 1867, C. 1938, D. 1915.
I'm gonna say 19. I want to say it was either 1915 or 1938. I just want to. In my mind, I don't know if fight songs were such a thing in early, college athletics. Because a multitude of colleges started to adopt athletics in the early 1900s, if not late 1800s. So I don't know if I'm going to say 1938, just off of a sheer.
1938. Close, but no, 1915 actually.
Yeah.
So, but your thought process wasn't too far off. So, all right, I guess that will wrap up Mountaineer multiple choice here for season 5, episode 138. Bradley pulling off the victory here. So, as is tradition, a little bit of a victory speech there from Big Bubba Brad.
I'm gonna spare Steven this time because I know he's getting tired of seeing my face in these after victory speeches. So I'm just gonna give us a good horns down Texas hate week. Eat it.
Beautiful. Horns down. Can't say anything better. No better way to wrap up the Texas preview and predictions episode, if I do say so myself, for sure. But that being said, gentlemen, we've talked about off-topic discussions. We've talked a little matchups. We've touched on the news. We played a little Mountaineer multiple choice, but always there's a little bit extra. So any final thoughts, Steven, before we close this one out?
No, I'd like to recommend the just to word questions better during Mountaineer multiple choice. I could have sworn you were going with the only player to lose in the Super Bowl and win the MVP. I could have sworn that one was the one that you were going with, and so.
Well, who
of
says
course
that
it was
that's
Sam
not in
Cruz.
the 10?
Of course it was.
That might be in the 10.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to bring that up in case it wasn't a 10, but now I have to decide. I have to go with why I chose my answer and plead my case with the public of Mountaineer Nation on why I said what I said and why I don't know anything on how to win in this stupid game. I'm gonna start breaking microphones like I'm on the Pat McAfee show or something.
I would just blame the state trivia this time because there was like 3 state trivia.
State trivia. I don't feel so bad about that. Yeah, Brad, I got to give that to you, man. You deserve to win that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know what the oldest river was. So
if he starts asking questions like, "Who's the best basketball coach that ever lived in the history of the world and universe?" then I'm probably going to win because I'm going to say stuff like Bob Huggins, and you probably say something like
it's all like
Coach K or something.
So.
No, not Coach K. Absolutely not.
I respect Coach K, but I don't like Coach K.
Speak that name.
Coach Williams probably Coach K.
In all seriousness, I really do like Coach K. Sorry, Cruz.
Hey, he's all right.
Williams
he's all right. I'll say that. He's all right. That's the best I can say about him.
He's a good coach. You gotta give it to
him.
He
is good.
He
was.
He was good.
He could win. Hey, Bobby's won some games.
He is. Again, we'll say that for the hoops.
We'll say
that. That's my final thought of the day. Jimmy Bell is a man, and I can't wait to see him play on an actual basketball game. Jimmy Bell Jr.
Not long away.
Force.
Getting close. It's getting close.
Little sneak peek.
All right, gentlemen. So I guess that will do it then for Season 5, Episode 138, the Texas Preview and Predictions edition of the Country Roads Webcast. Before we get out of here, of course, got to plug the live show. Our post-game show will be immediately following the Texas game Saturday night. We'll all actually be in the home bases since it is an away game. So that'll be a nice, refreshing change for us all to be together for one of those and on our sets respectively and stuff. So looking forward to that. You can look forward to that probably around 11 p.m. or a little bit after on Saturday night, and subscribe to the Voice of College Football channel to check that out. Or of course you can check that out here on our channel. And then one more time before we get out here, if you're watching on our channel or the WV Sports Now channel, hit the like button on your way out. Give us the thumbs up. That'll help us. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Social media handles there on the screen if you're watching on the video side. If you're on the audio, our Twitter is at WVU Country Roads. Facebook and Instagram, Country Roads Webcast, all one word. And then, of course, you get Big Bubba Brad, CRW there on the screen as well. Steven is at Pitt Still Sucks with the extra L there. And then I am at Cruise Control WV if you want to follow us individually as well. That being said, be on the lookout for that post-game live show and then all the content we will have coming throughout the WV football season here on the Country Roads Webcast. And really appreciate you guys that have tuned in to this episode. For Bradley and Steven, until next time, let's go Mountaineers.
If you really want to know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those